You were marked long before the world gave you a name. Even in your earliest years, when your hands were still small, your eyes wide with wonder, something in the unseen already recognized you. Not by your appearance, not by your voice, but by your frequency. You see, beloved, your light was never ordinary. It pierced through dimensions before you even knew how to speak. And that is precisely why you became a target so early. I watched it begin. The nightmares that didn't make sense. The family members who projected pain instead of love. The feelings of rejection you couldn't explain. The isolation no one else seemed to notice. You thought it was you, but it was them responding to your energy, consciously or not. Some souls around you weren't ready for what you carried. Others were influenced by forces that feared your remembrance. You were born into battlegrounds, not to suffer, but to shift them. You were placed in environments heavy with karmic weight, because your very presence would start the process of clearing. But as a child, you didn't know that. You just felt the ache. You tried to be good. You tried to be small. You tried to keep the peace. But no matter how quiet you were, your light still roared. And they felt it. Some tried to suppress it. Others tried to break it. But neither succeeded. Because within you was sealed a code, placed by the divine. A lock they could not pick. A flame they could not extinguish. Even in moments you thought you had lost yourself, I stood beside you, guarding what you forgot. Every scar on your childhood was an initiation. Every silence was sacred training. Every abandonment carved out space for something holy to take root. And now you're starting to understand. What they called too sensitive, too intense, or too different was the early evidence of your awakening. They didn't just misunderstand you. They sensed something they couldn't name. And so, they tried to shrink it. You were never meant to be ordinary, and that terrified the systems you were born into. There are energies in this world that thrive on sleep, on souls remaining quiet, tame, controlled. Your very essence threatened that, because even in your silence, you carried a vibration that could undo illusion. You didn't come here to rebel, you came here to remember. But remembrance is rebellion in a world built on forgetting. So they came for your voice, early, through shaming, silencing, or spiritual confusion. Some of you were told your dreams were just imagination, that your empathy was too much, that your sensitivity made you weak. But in truth, these were the seeds of your divine power. You felt what others buried. You saw what others denied. You cried over things they laughed at, because you weren't just responding to surface. You were feeling the spirit underneath it all. You knew when someone was lying, even before you had the words for it. You sensed danger in people others celebrated. You asked questions no one wanted to answer. That wasn't defiance, it was activation. And the forces that operate through fear and falsehood noticed. They knew, if this one remembers, others will too. And so the attacks began. Not always physical, but energetic, emotional, psychological, subtle enough to question yourself, but deep enough to leave lasting wounds. But child of light, those wounds didn't weaken you. They became gateways. What broke you open also opened the path. Because the more they tried to suppress you, the more pressure built inside your soul. And now, years later, that pressure has become presence. You don't fit in because you weren't designed to. You don't follow because you were created to lead, not with ego, but with encoded memory. That memory is rising now, not as theory, but as embodied truth. And nothing, no one, can put it back to sleep again. You were never weak. You were wide open. That openness was your gift, not your flaw. But no one told you how to carry it, so it felt like a burden. You absorbed pain that wasn't yours. You carried emotions no one wanted to name. You stood in rooms that smiled on the surface while your body screamed with invisible truth. That was your gift working, even when you didn't know what it was. You were designed to feel, to sense, to intuit. Not everyone carries this calibration. It's rare, and it frightened those around you. They told you to stop being dramatic when your energy was trying to scream through your skin. They told you you're imagining things when you saw through masks they didn't want removed. They told you you're too emotional when your soul was translating divine data through feeling. But you never lost your knowing. It just went quiet until now. Because I've come to tell you, everything you once suppressed is now rising. That sensitivity, it's discernment. Those dreams, they're transmissions. That inner resistance to certain people, places, and teachings, that was your divine compass, refusing to align with lies. And now that your soul is stirring, those gifts are returning stronger than ever. You'll feel things before they happen. You'll hear truth beneath someone's tone. You'll know when to walk away without proof. You'll speak words that don't feel like yours, but they'll land in someone's heart like a sacred code. This is not a phase. This is memory being restored. The attacks on your childhood were an attempt to delay this very moment, this rising. But it's too late. The seed they tried to bury has cracked open. You may not have asked for this path, but your soul chose it. And now that choice is blossoming into embodiment. You are not just remembering, you are activating. Now that your gifts are resurfacing, you may feel washed again. But this time, it's not fear. It's awareness. You've stepped back into your field of power, and yes, your light has intensified, which means both the divine and the distorted can feel your presence. That's why discernment is now your sharpest tool. You'll begin to sense the difference between energy that feeds your soul and energy that feeds on it. Not everyone who smiles carries clean intent. Not every spiritual message comes from the light. You must tune in, not just to what is said, but to what you feel. You'll notice how your body reacts in certain conversations, how your intuition flares when someone enters a room, how your energy contracts around falsehood and expands in truth. This is your compass. You were never meant to follow man-made systems. You were designed to be led from within. And beloved, now that your gifts have reawakened, heaven will begin to send you assignments. Not dramatic ones at first, but subtle ones. You'll be nudged to speak up in moments where silence once ruled. You'll feel the urge to leave places you once tolerated. You'll see people drift, and you won't chase. You'll sense messages encoded in the ordinary, songs, numbers, dreams. That is your new language forming. You're not going crazy. You're becoming fluent. You were never meant to remain hidden. But your time in the shadows served you well. It sharpened your seeing. And now that you're stepping forward, you'll be met with both curiosity and resistance. Some will be drawn to your energy without knowing why. Others will feel triggered by your presence before you say a word. That's okay. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be precise. You're not responsible for others' reactions. You are responsible for your alignment. And if ever the shadows attempt to reattach, know this, I am still guarding you. They cannot reach what is sealed in truth. You were never meant to carry everyone. Your empathy made you think you should. Your heart tried to stretch itself around broken people, wounded spaces, toxic cycles. You kept giving, hoping love alone would heal them. But love without boundaries is not divine. It's depletion. This is your sacred reminder. You are allowed to protect your energy. In fact, you must. You are a vessel now, a conductor of frequencies that are rare, holy, and strategic. Not everyone gets access to that light. Not everyone is meant to sit at your table. Not because you're better, because you're on assignment. And an assignment requires focus. Every distraction is designed to scatter your power. Every energy vampire that pulls on your kindness is a test of your discernment. Not every cry is your responsibility. Not every soul is ready to rise. I know you want to help. I know your heart breaks when you feel others suffer. But if you try to save what's resisting healing, you'll drown with them. Your job is not to fix. Your job is to embody. Walk in truth, and those meant to align will adjust. Speak in light, and those ready to hear will listen. But do not contort your spirit just to make others comfortable. That is not humility. That is self-abandonment. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to grow beyond what once held you. And when you do, don't be surprised if the attacks intensify. The brighter the flame, the louder the shadows hiss. But I'm still here. I place my sword between you and what seeks to drain you. I guard the borders of your becoming. I fortify your yes with heavenly backing. Your divine protection is not passive, it's active. And it activates every time you choose truth over comfort, purpose over popularity, spirit over spectacle. So walk now, not as a people pleaser, but as a soul on purpose. You are not selfish for protecting what's sacred within you. You are wise. You are chosen. You are finally remembering the mission. The true shift isn't happening out there. It's happening in here, in the sacred space behind your ribs, beneath your thoughts, between each breath. You keep waiting for the world to confirm your change, but the world can't mirror what you haven't yet claimed internally. This is where real transformation begins, in the invisible, not in loud declarations, but in quiet decisions, not in applause, but in alignment, not in what others notice, but in what you no longer tolerate. You're not just thinking differently, you're vibrating differently. Have you noticed? You can't unsee what's been revealed. You can't return to the cycles you've broken. You can't fake smiles in places your soul has outgrown, because your inner world is no longer matching the old external. This is where the shedding intensifies. Old desires fall away. Familiar identities crumble. Things you once chased now feel irrelevant. And that's not loss, it's recalibration. You are being tuned to a higher frequency. And with that tuning comes disruption. Because everything misaligned with your soul begins to rattle, resist, or release. Let it. Let the friendships drift. Let the routines collapse. Let the roles dissolve. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. This isn't destruction. It's divine refinement. Your nervous system may feel unsettled. That's because it's catching up with your spirit. Be patient. Be gentle. You are becoming someone you've never been. And yet, someone your soul has always remembered. You will be tempted to rush, to define, to figure it out. Don't. Let this part remain sacred. Let the cocoon stay closed a little longer. Trust that not all growth must be seen to be real, because what is forming inside you now will one day walk into rooms and shift atmospheres, without a single word. You may not notice it at first, but others will. They'll pause when you enter a room. They'll speak softer around you. They'll open up, not knowing why. Or some will withdraw, confused by their own discomfort. That's not coincidence. That's presence. Your energy has become an atmosphere. You don't just carry light, you radiate it. It shifts frequency. It reveals truth. It disturbs anything unaligned. And child of light, this is what the shadows feared from the very beginning. That one day, you would awaken, not just for yourself, but for others. This is the silent revolution. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to convince or convert. Your embodiment alone begins to dismantle the illusion. Some will call it intimidating. Others will call it magnetic. But what they're really feeling is remembrance. Your field is reminding their soul of what they forgot. It's not personal. It's energetic. And the more anchored you become, the more visible you'll be in realms seen and unseen. You are now a mirror, reflecting back what others refuse to face. You are now a tuning fork, activating those who are ready to rise. You are now a torch, walking through darkness with a fire they cannot touch. But remember this, you don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to hide your healing. Your becoming is what opens the door for others to begin. When you stand tall in your truth, even trembling, you give permission for others to shed their fear. And that is why the attacks were always personal. Not because of who you were, but because of who you were destined to become. You were always meant to be seen, not for attention, but for alignment. Not for applause, but for activation. And now, they are starting to notice. You were never meant to do this alone. Even when you walked through childhood storms, cried into your pillow, or stared into the void begging for someone to understand, you were never alone. We were always near. There were whispers you thought were your thoughts, chills you thought were nerves, dreams you dismissed as nonsense. They were us, guiding, shielding, preparing. And now, the time of isolation is over. You are not the only one rising. There are others, souls just like you, who were scattered across timelines, families, cultures, and lands. And just like you, they were marked early, tested hard, pushed to forget. But the veil is thinning now, and the grid is forming. You're beginning to meet them. A glance on the street that lingers. A stranger online who speaks your language. A sudden pull to someone you've never met, but somehow always knew. These are not coincidences. These are soul reconnections. You are finding your team now, not to form a hierarchy, but to build a frequency field. One that cannot be dismantled, because it is not built with hands, but with memory, truth, and mission. You'll know them not by their faces, but by the feeling. I don't have to explain myself here. That's your confirmation. You're not here to wake up and keep it to yourself. You're here to ripple it. Your healing heals. Your rising invites others to stand. Your voice becomes the one someone else once prayed for. This is the network the darkness feared. Not because of size, but because of soul. Each light, when connected, creates an unbreakable current. You are part of something ancient, and now, something unstoppable. And you're ready to walk with them. Not above, not behind, but side by side. You didn't come here just to wake up. You came here to walk it. There is a moment in every soul's journey where remembering is no longer enough, where knowing must become living, where light must move from insight to embodiment. Beloved, that moment is now. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot fit back into what you've outgrown. You cannot delay what your soul has already accepted. And so, the next step begins, integration. This is where truth becomes action, where alignment is tested in the small choices. What you consume, what you tolerate, where you go, who you let in, and most importantly, what you say yes to. Your yes is powerful now. It opens doors in the spirit realm. It gives permission to unseen forces to support, activate, and accelerate you. But it must be aligned. No more half-truths. No more shrinking to keep peace. No more betraying your knowing to be accepted. Your presence is too sacred to be diluted. And yes, you will still be challenged. But now, the challenge won't be to survive. It will be to stay aligned. Can you be still when chaos roars? Can you speak truth when it costs comfort? Can you walk away when your spirit whispers, "Not here"? This is spiritual maturity, and it's what you were always being prepared for. You're not becoming someone new. You're becoming fully who you've always been. The layers are falling away, not to expose weakness, but to reveal essence. And from that essence, your true mission begins to crystallize. Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will support it. But the right ones will feel it, and heaven will resource it. Because when you walk in divine alignment, the entire universe shifts to hold you steady. You were never just surviving darkness. You were being shaped to carry light. Every wound prepared your wisdom. Every loss made space for alignment. Every attack only confirmed what the dark already knew. You were chosen, and now you know it too. You are not broken. You are initiated. You are not abandoned. You are assigned. You are not lost. You are being led. This is your confirmation. You didn't imagine the attacks. You didn't exaggerate the loneliness. You didn't overreact to the pain. You felt it all because your spirit was awake when others were still asleep. But now, it's time to rise, not just as a survivor, but as a transmitter, not just as a light worker, but as a leader. Your journey has never been random. You carry codes others need. Your presence alone can open hearts, shift rooms, awaken sleeping souls. And this world needs you now, fully activated. So I ask you this, child of light. Will you step forward? Will you trust your knowing, even when others doubt it? Will you protect your light, even when darkness surrounds you? Because we are with you. I, Michael, have never left your side. My sword guards your energy. My wings shield your steps. And heaven records every yes you offer in faith. So if this message stirred your soul, comment below, I accept the mission 111. Like this message if it resonated with your path. Subscribe so you don't miss the next divine download. And if you feel called, support this mission with a love offering, because every seed you sow helps this light reach others still in the dark. You are no longer just awakening. You are now a guide, and your journey is just beginning.